They say that Sepp Voltes Street takes its name from Muhammad's 7 prophecies, and that at number 12 San Juan Street, the poet Ibn Ruhaym was born, author of numerous Mozarabic poems. History seeps from every crook and cranny in the old quarter of Bocairent, and in particular the history related to its Islamic past. Declared a National Historic and Artistic Monument Site, the visitor will marvel at its striking silhouette. The peculiar layout of its streets is in the purest Arabic style, with steep slopes going up and down, stairways, little squares, cisterns, wells and cul-de-sacs. A stroll around its sloping streets will reveal hidden corners of great beauty. Fountains and plant pots will mark the route of your stroll, which might take you to any of the 3 chapels in the old historic quarter. The Chapel of San Juan sits on the site of what was once the first mosque in the town, the foundations of which go back to the 13th century. The Chapel of the Mare de Déu d'Agost can be found right above the Almaguer Gate. This is the only entranceway in the original wall fortifications that is still standing. It was built during the Reconquest so that those who passed through the gate would receive the protection of the Virgin. And finally there is the Chapel of the Mare de Déu dels Desemparats. Although the exact date of its construction is unknown, a plaque indicates that it was restored in 1802. On arriving at San Vicente Square, which used to be the old town hall or prison square, you'll find an original Renaissance corner window, divided by a pilaster. And on the facade opposite there is an inscription reminding us that San Vicente Ferrer also came to preach in Bocairent. Appearing at the end of the street is the Church of Our Lady of the Ascension, one of Bocairent's most emblematic buildings. Constructed on top of the old Muslim fortress and consecrated in 1516, the church was originally built in the Gothic style and later adapted to the Baroque tastes of the time. Inside you'll find the baptismal font, which is an old public fountain together with a Gothic base sculpted in stone, dating back to the 15th century. On the right is the Chapel of the Reservado, the old chapter house, and popularly known as the Bocairentine Sistine Chapel. It was funded by the Roser and Minerva Brotherhoods, who were linked to the textile industry. To the right of the high altar is the altarpiece painted for the parish by Joan de Joanes in the 16th century. And to the left is another altarpiece started by Joan de Joanes and completed by his disciples. Amongst other objects conserved in the silverware room are San Juan de Ribera's rain cloak and a chalice by the Florentine sculptor Benvenuto Cellini. And in the picture gallery there are outstanding works such as the altarpiece of San Jaume, the Mare de Déu de la Salut and the Last Supper, both works by the Maestro of Borboto, and the Guide of San Blai, painted by Joaquin Serrola in 1902. One of the few religious paintings carried out by the artist. Leaving the church and going down the slope you'll come across the Archaeological Museum. Inside you'll find a fine selection of objects, most of which have been found on local sites, representing extensive historical periods stretching from the Upper Paleolithic to well into the Middle Ages. The Sharsha cave is one of the most important Neolithic archaeological sites in the Western Mediterranean, and is where many of the pieces of cardial pottery on display at the museum were found. Worth noting is the reproduction of the Lion of Bocairent, an Iberian sculpture from the 4th century BC, which is currently conserved in Valencia's Pio Quinto Museum, as well as a scale model of the Covetes dels Moros, showing both the inside and outside of the caves. Descending the street, you'll come to the Town Hall Square, the administrative and social centre of the town. There's a popular saying that in this square the donkeys used to lean out of the windows. The reason being that the houses were built on top of each other, thereby creating buildings with 7 or 8 floors. Framed by the entrance arch, which once served as an ancient aqueduct, the bell tower provides an unmistakable silhouette rising above the town. From the square you can go down to the bridge with the pointed arch, built at the end of the 18th century. It is from here that the Stations of the Cross procession begins its climb up to the Chapel of the Santo Cristo. The chapel dates from the 16th century and is laden with magical symbolism for the Bocairentines. The route leading to the Covetes dels Moros also starts from the town hall square. Halfway along the path you'll come across the Cava de Sant Blai. Once an ice deposit, this building has been converted into a didactic space about the ice-making industry and its origins, as well as explaining the storage, transportation and sale of this project, which had its heyday between the 17th and 19th centuries. Continuing along the path, you'll eventually get to the Covetes dels Moros, Bocairent's most characteristic monument. The Covetes are made up of a group of more than 50 man-made caves with window-like holes carved out of them. Although the caves were originally independent and separated from one another, these days they are all interconnected. There are a multitude of interpretations concerning the original purpose of these handmade cavities. Recent studies carried out by the Archaeological Museum of Ontinyent and the Vall d'Albaida have revealed that the covetes were used for security as grain storage deposits, and that they were made during the Andalusi period by the peasant communities of the area, who were very probably descendants of the original Berber settlers. Entering the Covetes dels Moros will undoubtedly fire your imagination, as it is a totally unique space. It is a labyrinth that has been excavated out of the hillside, reminding us at every turn that Bocairent is also known as the Living Rock. Once back in the town, you can continue your visit by going to the convent cave below the monastery of Sant Agustí. Recently open to the public, this ancient subterranean convent was etched out of the rock in the year 1556 before being closed up in 1700 due to the construction of the new monastery above. Your first impression on entering the chapel will be one of surprise as you gaze around this well-preserved 48 square metre cave. Skillfully carved out of the rock, the subterranean convent comprises several interconnected chambers together with a 10-metre tall chimney-cum-ventilation shaft. You can finish your visit to the town of Bocairent by going to another original monument that also has its foundations in the living rock, the Bull Ring. Constructed in 1843, it is the oldest in the Valencian community. During the first half of the 19th century, the textile industry was hit by a major recession, and in order to reduce the resulting unemployment, it was decided that a bull ring should be built by excavating it out of the rock. It can seat up to 3,760 people and has seen bullfights by the greatest bullfighters of all time. These days it continues to hold bullfights along with other cultural and sporting activities, as well as festivals during the summer.